Hi, and welcome to The Art of Aging, which is part of the Abundant Aging podcast series from United Church Homes. On this show, we look at what it means to age in America and in other places around the world with positive and empowering conversations that challenge, encourage, and inspire everybody, everywhere to age with abundance. Today, I am very, very pleased to have the wonderful and fantastic Lisa Lavin on the phone. Lisa is a serial entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience building new businesses from the ground up within the healthcare and health tech sectors. And currently, she has a very dynamic and growing business called Ōmcare, which we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk a lot about the challenges of medical condition management or medication management with older adults. Lisa has also been very active in local and national organizations that support entrepreneurialism, if I can pronounce that word, which I usually can't, and women in business. As you might expect, she's gotten some recognition for her good works. She is a Minnesota Cup Division winner, Eureka Award winner for innovation. She was recognized by Minneapolis/St. Paul's Business Journal as one of the 25 women to watch. Minnesota Business's Real Power 50 and the New York Observer's 2020 list of the hottest flyover tech companies in digital health. And so much more to come. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Oh, Mike, it's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm looking forward to this. And just a reminder for the audience that this podcast series is sponsored by United Church Homes Center for Abundant Aging. To learn more about the center, including our annual symposium in October, visit www.unitedchurchhomes/Parker-Center. So Lisa, I really like, we've met before. I know a little bit about your story. I'm excited to get into where we are right now with Ōmcare, but you're a person, and I love to start the podcast this way because we get to know a little bit more about you and your passion here. You could be doing a lot. You could be doing a lot with your talents. You could be doing a lot with your experience. You could be putting it to work in a lot of different places. What inspired you to get into this business and really address the issue of medication management?
Well, Mike, like so many entrepreneurs, the beginning starts a long time ago, that we had something in our lives or someone in our life that was inspirational. And for me, it really goes back to my grandmother and my relationship with my grandmother. Back in the day, my grandmother was one of the most important people in my life. She was the one that I learned unconditional love. I learned fun. I learned, so many different things. And as I saw her age, what I noted is that there weren't the systems and perhaps platforms in place that enabled my grandma to stay connected with family, to live abundant and vibrantly as I believe that she deserved to live. And as I saw that process and I saw the end of her life, I knew I wanted to make a change in the world at some point that would actually enable the aging population to be able to age better than my grandmother did. And so, fast forward many, many years. Here we are, about, just over 10 years ago, when I was thinking about scratching that entrepreneurial itch that I've had for a really long time. And when I looked at what I wanted to do, I realized, it really does go back to way back then, that I want to be able to make a difference in this particular segment in our world because it's really needed. And so when I was founding this company, I knew that we were going to develop a platform that enabled people to live more connected, more healthy, and live where they want to live longer. And that's what Ōmcare is all about.
That's awesome. And what was your prior experience that kind of brought you into this? I mean, did you have a background in software design, medication management? I mean, what is kind of what are you flexing here with Ōmcare?
So I've been in healthcare and I've been in product development and business development in kind of the startup world for over 20 years. I've started in big company, right? One of the companies that I spent quite a bit of time at was 3M Healthcare, and had the great honor and opportunity to build new products and new businesses within those very large, safe walls of 3M Healthcare. And really enjoyed it there. Always knew that I needed to scratch this entrepreneurial itch, but really cut my teeth there and learned so very much from people smarter than me in those kind of organizations. It was about 15 years ago when I really started stepping off of and started stepping into the entrepreneurial world.
And you've described, or at least I would describe Ōmcare as this one-stop shop for pharmacies to kind of solve that last mile problem that we see with medication and medication management in the home. Can you describe more about what Ōmcare does?
Yeah, I would. So we are a digital health technology company. We have created an all-in-one home health platform that was intended to extend the reach of caregivers into the home, both family members as well as professional caregivers, to be able to monitor a person's health and help them and assist them in living more healthy. And then, to your point, really the tip of our spear is help them manage their medications more efficiently. What the Ōmcare Home Health Hub does is it dispenses medication that comes directly home delivered from the pharmacy. And Ōmcare really serves as that last mile of pharmacy into the home. Because here's the deal: just because medications are delivered to the home, you don't even know if people are actually taking them, and it ends up being one of the biggest reasons why we have such a high incidence of hospitalization, such a high incidence of having to transition to assisted living, is just not being able to manage medications. So the Ōmcare Home Health Hub promises right medication, right time, right person. It ensures that the medication that is delivered to the home is actually taken correctly by the person.
And I'll tell you, I mean, just in my career and certainly within United Church homes with our skilled nursing environments with, experience in home care, I've certainly had, firsthand experience seeing kind of the harms that are caused when you've got medication non-adherence, and non-adherence can be a combination of factors. Very often, just simply not having the ability to go out and get the medication, not knowing about interactions between medications. I mean, I know that one of the top causes of falls that we see is a medication change.
Mm-hmm.
The interaction between that and somebody might be using alcohol or drugs or over-the-counter medication, supplements, nutritionals, things like that, and it's tough. And there's a lot of factors in medication management, but yes, fundamentally it comes down to, can you reliably get your medications? Do are you taking them with knowledge of the interactions? Are you taking them properly? All of those different things. And yeah, we see that improper use of medications. What we see most often with older people is they disoriented, dizzy, fall. That causes a hospitalization. So that's really a big thing you're addressing, right?
It is. And I actually would like to double down on that, Mike, because when you think about it, many people are having their medications come from many different pharmacies. And you don't really have that one pharmacy that's doing that medication reconciliation to make sure that, are you considering then the potential interactions with all of the medications and even over-the-counter medications that somebody might be taking? That's one of the advantages of the relationship and the system that we've created with our pharmacy partners is all of the medications come from one pharmacy. They are pre-pouched in multi-dose pouch packaging. They are mailed to the home. And when that 30-day supply of medication that is inserted into our hub, we download the schedule directly from the pharmacy. So we know exactly what is the schedule, when people are to be alerted, when in the right time for them to take their meds. So they can be assured, I don't have to worry about the meds that I'm taking because the pharmacy's already done the diligence that they're the right meds that I should be taking right now. And they don't have to worry about taking them at the right time because our system alerts them when it's time for them to be taken. And what is more, for those that might be having some memory issues or need just a little bit more assistance, our system actually enables someone to receive a remote medication assistance call via the hub. So when it's time, Mike, for you to take your meds, you might be having some memory issues. I'm going to call you via our hub. I can see the whites of your eyes via our audio-visual interface. But because of our multiple cameras, I not only can see you, but I can also see the pill tray.
Wait,
I can even,
I'm just trying to imagine this thing that sits in the house. So it's a dispenser.
yeah,
It's an audio-visual communications hub with two-way cameras on it. And then you've got obviously got, the data that informs the decision engine there about when to alert this, that, and the other thing. But I'm just, I'm so sorry I can't just throw up a picture of it on the screen here. But listeners, use your imagination. But I'm right on this. So it's a communications hub, it's a data center, and it's a dispensing center. And you're going to take packs that you have with your pharmacy partner from the outside, load it into your. How long is it? Is this a 30-day supply? 90? I mean,
yeah, it's up to a 30-day supply. And because of the fact that we have multiple cameras, we're verifying that the right med is being dispensed at the right time. I'm verifying that you're actually grabbing the medication from the tray and that there's no medications left over and that you're actually taking those medications. Now, not everybody needs that level of assistance, which is why we can simply provide alerts to somebody if they just want that easy med reminder, or we can also assist somebody remotely to make sure that they are taking their meds.
sorry, what triggers that assist? Because the thing that's going through my mind right now is that everyone knows the trope about the pill tray and getting all little pills organized and things like that, and that's always a hassle. But it's free. Well, it's a plastic dispenser, and then the families have to kind of leave it to themselves to organize everything. And I know there's lots. The hospitals may help, other people may help, but you take that part out of it. But how do you know if somebody needs help taking their? I mean, how do you know? Do you proactively signal, "Hey, do you want us to help here," or does somebody else initiate kind of an assistance call?
That's actually good. Two questions there. First of all, that decision of what kind of assistance somebody makes is a decision that the individual makes, perhaps with their family or with their professional caregiver. In some instances, in some of our use cases, somebody's just doing their own, getting an alert in the morning, but then getting a call in the evening to help them walk them through their medications. So how does that happen? There is a med schedule in our platform, and if somebody needs a caregiver assist call via the hub, then they will be assigned, and I will, as a caregiver, receive an alert on my phone. It's time for me to call Alice to help her with her medications, and then I'll call her via the Ōmcare app on my phone. It'll ring into her hub in her home. We'll be able to have a little chat. I'll go ahead and start the process, and I'll be able to lead her through the medication dispensing process and confirm that she's not having any trouble taking her meds.
What sort of situations are we talking about? I mean, I can see somebody because somebody who is a caregiver for somebody with dementia and all that. Well, let me ask a couple of questions here. Okay. In what situations, maybe outside of cognitive, have you seen people initiate a call like that?
It could be the memory issues. It could be developmentally disabled that might need some assistance in that circumstance. If you think about the way in which this is achieved today, to do what we do today, you have to do what's called a door med pass. You have to show up at somebody's door, hand them the medication, and watch them take it, right? That usually happens in an assisted living setting. What could happen also in a home care setting. Now, with home care, I can do that remotely. Rather than having to go to your room or go to your home, I can now call you and I can walk you through the process and watch you dispense the meds and take the meds. And there's different reasons for that. Generally, it usually ends up being a memory issue that is driving that.
Yeah. I'm also thinking about the case where maybe somebody has a brand new medication regimen and they need to understand about both adherence. I know that if somebody may be on a medication that requires injection, then that they'll get on a call with a nurse, and that nurse will kind of coach them through the injection of that medication initially until they get used to it. Do you guys provide that as well?
So what we are able to do is we're able to manage medications that are both pouched as well as medications that are unpouched. So if somebody is on a bunch of tablets, those will be in the pouch, but maybe they have eye drops, maybe they have an injectable, maybe they were just, prescribed amoxicillin and it's not inside the pouch. So we're able to list on our audiovisual interface, here's all the medications that are being dispensed right now. Now, here's all the medications that are not in the pouch that you need to go get and actually take right now. So we can both provide alerts to all of those, but also be able to track adherence to both pouched and as well as unpouched meds.
Yeah, and that data is obviously very, very powerful, and that leads into, I would think, um, additional interventions if we find that adherence is not happening, right? I mean, do you guys? I mean, if somebody's non-adherent to a medication, is there a certain protocol that you guys will put into place to see if coach them? Why is this? Why is this not happening? Like, do you have some examples of that?
Yeah, so our system enables a caregiver to be alerted if somebody is non-adherent. So if I missed my meds at 8 a.m. this morning, my caregiver will receive an alert that, hey, Lisa missed her meds this morning. And I then have the ability to be able to then call you via the hub and to say, hey, how are you doing? Right? All right, is everything okay? I saw that you missed your meds this morning. What's going on? So that becomes something that's actionable. We have lots of data that is collected via the hub. And we even understand that there's analytics that become really relevant here too. Because all of a sudden, if you start noticing Alice is taking her medication later and later during the day, um, and then all of a sudden there's a fall, now all of a sudden it becomes predictive that, hey, if Alice is starting to miss her meds, we need to intervene right now because she might be at risk for a fall.
And do you have a database of medications that this family of this whole list of medications that they're not taken regularly that could lead to dizziness? So you would know all those potential side effects. Does your
Yeah.
database also kind of do the combination? Like if I'm taking this drug and this drug, I have to take them together, or I should have to space them apart, or things like that?
Yeah, that all comes from the pharmacy data system. So the pharmacy has all of that information, is able to then be able to coach via our system in that way.
Yeah. So the data sets that you're looking at. Obviously, you can see if somebody's adherent by taking the medications. You obviously know that people are getting the medications. You can do some coaching around the actual, how to take the medication. You can look at trending about when people choose to take their medication or not. You can probably flag against repeat dosage of taking medication. If somebody's got a dementia and they forgot they've taken their meds and they need to, they're trying to take the meds a second time in the same day or something along those lines.
Yeah, and I would also like to add, Mike, that we have the ability to integrate with biometric devices to be able to add that additional layer of information to be able to track blood pressure, respiration rate, heart rate, so that when those kind of metrics might be going off the chart, we're able to alert caregivers of a situation with regards to that as well. And soon, we're looking very seriously at integrating camera-based biometrics. So just by when I call my mom and she's looking into the camera, passively we can measure her heart rate, respiration rate, blood oxygen, blood pressure, which really becomes very relevant. So not having to then attach and put on devices and these kind of things.
So you're embedding some sort of like a millimeter wave or K-band or some sort of a sensor inside the unit that will essentially pulse. And because you're right there with the camera, you got sort of that immediacy, so it's a little bit more accurate. I've seen systems that are kind of spread around, and some are more accurate than others, but you got it right there during that camera session, right?
Yeah, there are companies that have already developed this technology, and matter of fact, well on their way to getting FDA approval of using a camera on any device to be able to measure those biometrics and measure them consistently. The advantage that our hub has in using our camera is that it's stationary. So I don't have this phone that's shaking because it has to be very still to be able to leverage the camera in that way.
Yeah, I've got two more questions for you before we move on to the final three that we always ask everybody. One's on kind of the skill set around engaging somebody with a cognitive issue, and the second thing is more around I say AI, and AI, both in terms of engagement, in terms of data analytics. I think I'm probably a little more interested in terms of the data analytics side of thing. But I think the question I want to ask you about AI is more towards the relative costs and comparisons now that DeepSeek happened a couple of weeks ago. If you have a thought on that and what that's done to upend our assumptions of what it takes to build these models. To the first thing though, we're United Church Homes is a participant in CMS's GUIDE program. We are actually one of the few that has an established program that is non-clinical. So it's our NaviGuide Service Coordinator program, which is social determinant risk mitigation, relational work, navigating people through local resources. And I think it's largely built, and I think we feel really confident doing this because our care planning protocols, our nurse protocols, our relational protocols are already optimized for longitudinal over time, which clinical plans often are not. But then it's also, very specialized towards, dealing with people with cognitive. I would think that when you're talking about the clinical side of programs like the Guide, it's like, well, when you're thinking about clinical protocols in dementia care, I'd say this is me not being a doctor, not going to medical school, but when I see to it, it's really medication management, right? I mean, most of clinical care with dementia cognitive is all medication management, and then most of it's behavioral and relieving stress on the family and things like that. So I think that for someone like you that is building skill around engaging people with cognitive issues and coaching them to take medication, I would guess that there is a particular skill set that your people will need to embody or need to learn in order to actually successfully coach folks that may have a cognitive issue. Do you have your own training program? Is that something that you're building just know-how around? How do you look at that skill set when it comes to the people that you hire?
So I want to be clear that something about our business model. We decided very early on when we were designing the system that we didn't want to replace healthcare providers, but rather we wanted to be a portal for healthcare providers into the home. So we are not hiring the providers that are providing this care, but rather our hub serves as an extension, as that technology conduit for care into the home. And what we're providing is the means to remove technology management off the table, to be able to hit the easy button related to that so that a care provider can focus in on what they really want to focus on, is providing the care that is needed to.
And I'm just getting it now because what you're doing is essentially allowing a current provider that's helping to manage the care of a person that may have cognitive. You're providing that continuity. You're not going to have a strange face, suddenly a brand new person. You're having somebody that has been a healthcare provider enabled through your platform to do that medication coaching. Okay, I got it.
Yes. Yep.
All right, now for AI, right? Because it's the AI drinking game. We have to take a sip of water whenever we say AI. But it's interesting, I think that, I myself for the last year have been really trying to understand what the limits are of the current AI models. And I've come to kind of a cynical conclusion about just the parity that's out there in terms of like the generative chat and the pictures and all of the LLMs like the Anthropics and the Open AI and things like that. My view is that they're just kind of hit a ceiling in terms of what they can do, and it's going to take many internets worth of data for them to get to that next level. And then you have, I think, the more practical use of AI, the AI that was there before, OpenAI started marketing. The idea of just here's massive data sets and let me make some order out of it, and let's see if we can stop for trending against benchmarks and things like that. As you've thought about AI in your application, I'm sure you have, everybody has. I don't know if there have been challenges to adoption of certain solutions that may have prevented themselves from being used in your use case just because of the ability to learn, the capabilities of the system, or its cost. Now we have this whole upending of the AI market with DeepSeek and others who have basically trained LLM models for about 5% of the cost of the latest LLM from OpenAI. The other part of it, the actual doing part of it, the interpretation and doing it, that cost is almost certainly going to come down. And we've talked about as the cost of this things come down, more people will use it. Are there dreams that you've had about incorporating AI within home care that have been kind of limited so far? Why have they been limited? Do you have hope for the future now that some of these new things are happening?
AI is going to become part of everything that we do. We know that for sure. Here's what I'll say. To me, I see three different layers of AI for us currently as well as in our future. The current AI is what we do today. It's taking the data that exists and running it through an analytics platform that makes it meaningful to a healthcare provider. So then rather than inundating a healthcare provider with data, we're serving it up in a meaningful way that's actionable. Okay, that's number one. The second layer is where it becomes predictable or predictive, right? So we're using that data that then all of a sudden, it's not just something that's happening right now. And oh, by the way, there's something happening right now, but because of this that's happened in the past, this is happening again. It appears that this could be predictive of something that might be a bad thing happening in the near future. So alerting to that point. But I see something even bigger that I think is an opportunity, and that has to do with the artificial intelligence with regards to companionship. So we know one of the biggest silent killers of humans in general, but especially the aging population, is the disconnection that can happen and the loneliness that can happen as I age, right? And my family only has so much time to talk to me during the day, and I live alone, right? And putting myself in that position. So, we're talking about a population that lives alone, that's lonely, they're disconnected. How can we help them feel more connected and part of a community? Well, certainly you provide an easy means for them to be able to communicate via an audiovisual platform, one-touch access to caregivers and family members. Great. But what if they're not available? What if there were an entity that were available on the hub that I could talk to anytime? And matter of fact, that entity might even ask me every day, how are you doing today, Lisa? How are you feeling? And being able to measure my voice and be able to be even predictive in that way to be able to alert somebody, Lisa doesn't sound right today. You might want to check in, right? So I just see this growing in such a way that not only reduces the burden on healthcare providers, but also serves as a way to increase joy in life as well.
I love that. I love that that's sort of a vision for the future that you have to improve quality of life, because that's what we're all in this for. It's just improved wellness, improved health, improved quality of life as that person defines it for themselves for as long as possible. So I love what you've been doing. I love where you're going with this solution, Lisa. And like I said before, we like to end our podcasts with three questions just about your own experience with aging. But before I do that, obviously people want to find you. Where can people find you? Where can people find Ōmcare?
The best way to find Ōmcare is go to our website, which is ōmcare.com, OMCARE.com. And they can learn all about Ōmcare. They can even purchase it today on our store.
Awesome.
But you can also find Ōmcare in select senior care providers and growing nationally, availability through those channels as well.
OMCARE.com.
Correct.
Got it. All right. Super. All right. Three questions. Here we go. All right. So Lisa, this is our first question. When you think about how you've aged, what do you think has changed about you or grown with you that you really like about yourself?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. I think about building a business and just how intense that has been. It's easy to ruminate on mistakes in the past. It's easy to perseverate on what I need to do next and all the things that need to be solved. And I think more than anything, as I've aged, I'm grateful for the life lessons that have taught me to focus more on the present moment, that understanding that I can't change the past, I can't control the future, and that it is the present moment that is the thing that is most important. Now, full disclosure, this is a moment by moment practice. It's certain. but it is a practice that makes me a better person. So yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Great example for our audience. Question 2, what has surprised you the most about you as you've aged?
Well, I have to say, there have been so many times in my life that in my arrogance, I believed that I was infallible and immune to both sickness as well as aging. And I remember looking when I was younger, seeing an older person receiving assistance to help them walk, and then arrogantly saying to myself, that will never be me. I will never be that old. And and
Surprise!
surprise, I just realized as I have gotten older that yes, you are fallible, Lisa. You are absolutely human, just like everybody else. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It actually, what I've learned is I've become more vibrant with age because I'm a little bit wiser with age. That the chains of insecurity and self-absorption have fallen off a little bit more. That has released me and opened my eyes to be so much more. And as I age, the more surprised and delighted I become.
That's kind of a richness of life experience now, right? I
Right.
mean, that's sort of that really cool part about reflection and context and really knowing the things that you value and all of those things. And I love the fact that you feel that you're aging more vibrantly now. Vibrant is a great term, and I love that. So let's talk about our last question then. Let's talk about other people that might have inspired you to age with abundance. I mean, has there been anybody in your life or someone that you've met that has really set that good example for you in aging?
Yeah.
Because you're clearly one for other people, but who's inspiring you?
You know, Mike, a number of years ago, we invited a dear friend to come live with us. Her name was Kathleen. She had just turned 80, and she was just recently diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And, at that stage in her life, and given the stage of her cancer, her options were limited. But what she decided to do is she decided to go ahead and do some chemo and do some radiation to extend her life, maybe even just a year. This is what I learned from Kathleen, that in the midst of all of those burdens and barriers and pain and suffering and losing her hair and becoming very, very ill, what was most important to Kathleen were the people in her life. And she made that a priority. She made it a priority that she was going to continue to love and inspire her family and friends on a daily basis. And, I'll just never forget this stream of people coming in and out of our home on a daily basis just to have a little bit of time with Kathleen because of who she was. She was a beacon of light and love to everyone around her. And even in her death, she was an inspiration to all of us. And so I think about Kathleen that never let a moment of life go by, to live and to love well.
Wow. I really appreciate you sharing that with our listeners. What a wonderful place to end on for this podcast. And I just thank you so much for giving up your time and being part of this. But of course, more appreciation to our listeners. They have given up time as well, and hopefully you guys think that this is time well spent. So thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode of The Art of Aging, which is part of the Abundant Aging podcast series from United Church Homes. And please, what did you think of this episode? What questions do you have about things like medical management for a loved one? Where do you see things going with AI? Who is your Abundant Aging hero? Please talk to us and let us know at abundantagingpodcast.com. You can also find other episodes of the series on abundantagingpodcast.com, as well as on our YouTube channels. You can search under United Church Homes. Lisa, once again, where can people find you in Ōmcare?
Ōmcare.com.
Ōmcare.com. Awesome. Everyone, thanks for listening. We will see you next time.